Let me go out. I'll get killed. Everybody I've talked to, Democrats, independents, Republicans alike in the meeting said that was pathetic.
The Clintons have taken victimhood to sort of a new scientific height. They're sort of the experts.
Joining us now from Orlando, Ed Henry, Fox's chief national correspondent, who covered the Clinton campaign as the author of 42 Faith, the rest of the Jackie Robinson story.
Good to see you.
Same here, Ed. So Hillary Clinton there was actually quoting Nate Silver when she said she was endorsing his view that she'd be president if not for Comey, and Comey was a factor. But when she says, I'll take full responsibility, and then doesn't seem to, the media consensus seems to be that she's still not acknowledging really any significant mistakes on her part.
Absolutely. I think Sean Spicer actually had it right this week when he went to the White House podium, and he basically said, you know, if the Atlanta Falcons, you know, if the Super Bowl ended at halftime, the Atlanta Falcons would have won the Super Bowl. This is absurd. You know, election day is election day. What the poll said or what anybody said a week out really doesn't matter at the end of the day. And what's absurd is to try to take credit for, I take responsibility, this one's on me, and then name 5 other people and 5 other situations that allegedly were to blame. And I think the fact that her own staff was out on Twitter lashing out at reporters saying, you're being unfair to her again. What are you talking about? She claimed to take responsibility and then blamed everyone else.
Right. It wasn't much about not having much of an economic message or visiting those Rust Belt states, very often the ones carried by Trump. But people forget that she and her campaign had very testy relations with the press. You covered part of that campaign. You remember initially, for months really, they blamed journalists for making too much of the email investigation, as if it was just some media obsession.
Right, and now in, you know, these books like Shattered and all of the postmortems, her own advisors seem to be admitting that the email situation was a disaster from the start. I mean, John Podesta, a campaign chairman, did an interview with Der Spiegel and basically said, in retrospect, we should have just released the emails ourselves and not turned them over to the State Department. They themselves realized this was a disaster, and yet they were pointing the finger at the press and everyone else, the Republican critics throughout. They now realize inside the Clinton campaign itself that the email situation was a disaster and they never really dealt with it. We also learned that from WikiLeaks, when throughout the campaign they were saying, we need more answers. We don't even know what her